Live from Southern California, this is the Jim Rome Show.
Oh, I'm here. Don't you worry. Welcome to the program. My name is Jim Rome. A tremendous Tuesday to you. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. My appreciation of FanDuel. My appreciation of all of you. Nice to be here. Great to have you here. I am here.
I'm here.
Hi, Patrick. Hello, Kermit.
I'm here.
We're both here. You look pretty good, Kermit. I still see that knee brace, but you seem like you're moving around pretty well. Anyway, what's cracking? Nice to have you here. All right, good show for you today. Let's get right at it. You can engage any way you want. For so many years, I've always started the program by saying, good to have you here. Get up on the phones. But, times have changed. So let me say, good to have you here. Get in the chat. Get in the chat. Get to our YouTube channel at Jim Rome. Get to our YouTube channel. If you don't mind, can you hit the sub button? Can you ring the bell? Can you find your way to the chat? Those of you in chat already know how to get to chat. Go ahead and do so. If you want to find me any other way, I know some of you are bent on X, feeling like I'm not paying attention to you anymore. Not true. Not true. We're trying to make it so you can engage any way you want with the program. I'm paying attention to all of you.
It's
Phones, X, email, chat. It's just part of our evolution. Just pick a way you want to interact and engage, and we'll find you. Telephone number is 1-800-636-8686. Follow me on X at Jim Rome. Email me at rome@haveatake.com. And yes, get to chat. The interview is set up like this. Here is somebody who has never been on the program. Ever. Former NFLer, former NFL head coach, NBC Sports NFL analyst, now a podcast host, Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett, it's 1240. Listen, when you've done this as long as I've done this, and there's somebody, I've spoken to him before, but not on the air. So when you've done this as long as I've done this, and then you find somebody you have not spoken to, that's cool. Always look forward to that. So Jason Garrett coming up at 1240. Hour number 2 is wide open. Top of hour number 3, our pal Sam Amick, who will join us to talk about the Lakers situation. You know, I've got my own thoughts on the Lakers situation, which I will get to momentarily. In the meantime, the XR4TI is here. Let me just lay this out. Through the glass, reading from my left to my right. Alvy, Tommy, back row, Alex Hattie in the XCR, I think. Haven't been in there, I think. Lauren is back. Yeah, he must be. There he is. And Isabel is in there. And there you go. That is your crew. Let me say that again, Lauren. What was that? Is that a rat? That looks like a rat. All right, then. So now you're set. You know where to find me. All right, first things first. I want to make this very clear off the very top of the program. I am not an attorney. I am not a judge. I don't plan on attempting to play either one of them today. I'll be very upfront about this. I don't know how the Buss family drama is going to play out this time. Only that it's going to play out in court, and the courts will decide. But I will say this. I should have known yesterday that something was not quite right. In fact, I actually did know yesterday that something was not quite right. I knew as soon as Shams reported that the Busses had, quote, decided as a family, end of quote, to sell the remainder of their shares in the Lakers, that it was a little sus. Because since when does Shams do the main ESPN reporting on the Buss family, as good as he is? And also, more importantly than anything else, since when does the Buss family all agree on anything? We were supposed to believe that the Buss family came together in agreement to sell their shares. Sure as hell they did not. Needless to say, we all should have seen the LT hammer coming on that report. And we all should have known who would be swinging that sledgehammer. Of course, the Buss family did not decide to sell as some kind of unified front. And of course, the lone holdout was Jeanie Buss herself, aka the one who is the reason that the rest of the Sibs are not Laker employees anymore, because she fired them all. So essentially, there's been a giant Buss family power struggle in the week since Mark Walters sold his majority share, stunningly. The rest of the siblings just want their money. Well, actually, I think they want more than their money. I think they want to jam their sis, but they want their money. And the added bonus of screwing over Jeanie in the process, I'm sure they want that too. In fact, I know they want the added bonus of jamming Jeanie, since she not only fired them, but she was on record as telling one of them they should have, quote, never been born. More on that in a moment, but rest assured that's not something you forget. Hey, you should have never been born, by the way, so shut your mouth. Anyway, Jeanie clearly wants to keep her controlling interest in the Lakers and wants to stay involved day to day with the Lakers. But in order to do that, and again, I'm not an attorney, nor am I a judge, but in order to do that, I do know this. The Buss family stake in the Lakers has to stay above 15%, which means her siblings cannot sell. You're not convoluted at all. Now, the Sibs claim that they only needed 4 out of the 6 votes to approve the sale as part of a so-called tag-along clause on the Iger-Kushner purchase of that team. Jeanie says a 2017 court order ultimately gives her full veto power and effectively requires her to remain controlling owner for life. For life. In other words, she and her attorney would argue, y'all can't do anything without my permission. So who is right? Which side is right? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But you can bet your ass there will be lawyers. And you can bet your ass it's going to be contentious. And it's going to be messy. And we'll probably get even more Buss family drama and find out even more Buss family details. Like, I don't know, that time that Jeanie told her brother he, quote, should have never been born. You were a mistake. You should have never been born. Like what? Your vote doesn't count because you should have never been born. Turns out Jesse is not over being told that he should have never been born. Shocking. People are funny like that. When they're also ultra rich, powerful Sib who's in control tells them, hey, by the way, you should have never been born. People generally don't forget that. They're funny like that. Funny what people will do when you tell them that they should have never been born. As everybody else on the internet has noted, what this all is like is an episode of that absolutely iconic television show, Succession. One of my favorite TV shows ever. And you don't hear me say that very often, right? Great TV show. Except this is in real life. Except what it is, it's not nearly as good. It's like a really lame episode of a really incredible TV show. Like a really lame episode with way lamer characters. Like Succession is Ionic. The Buss family is just a bleep show. I wish the Buss family was half as interesting as the Roy family. In fact, you know what I wish? I wish the Roy family owned the Lakers. That's what I wish. I wish either the Roy family just bought the Lakers or it was the Roy family holding on to the Lakers in their cold, dead hands the way Jeannie is. Either way, it'd be much better than the Buzz family because the Roys were cool. But the real point is this. Seems to me Bob Iger and Josh Kushner own the Lakers now, right? Didn't they just pay a valuation of $12.5 billion? Now, granted, 17% of that is still subject to debate. But all that money, which means the whole effort by Jeannie to stay in the fold, seems to me to be misguided and goofy and doomed. Like, her family wants out. I can't imagine if the new owners want her anywhere near there. But man, she is holding on tightly, right? It's very clear Jeannie wants to maintain her stranglehold over the governorship of the Lakers. Like, as I mentioned, you're going to have to come pry the Lakers out of Jeannie's cold, dead hands. That's what's most important to her. That is her identity. That's how she wants to spend her time. Which is a little curious considering she already sold the team. She did. She already sold the team to Mark Walter, but seemingly set up a deal whereby, all right, I can get my money out of this, but I could still be the governor. I can get my money, but I can still actually be in charge or be in charge of the stewardship of this team. In other words, I can have my cake and slam it too. Oh, all right. All right. So the Lakers are your identity. The Lakers are your legacy. The Lakers are the way you want to honor your father. And basically, you want to spend your time. And you want to be in control. Like, you want all these things. I get it. So why did you sell the team in the first place? Because you thought you could still have all these things, right? But I have to ask, if owning the Lakers is the most important thing to Jeannie, then selling the Lakers seemed to be a pretty goofy move unless she kind of thought she hedged her bet. I can sell them, I can get paid on it, but I can still show up like I'm running it. Because in a way, I kind of am still running it. Because I'm the governor. You know, and then what was Walter agreeing to? All right, I just bought the team, but I'm going to let her hang around for a few more years? I guess because I own the team and I'm going to pass that team down and pretty soon she's going to go away? I mean, the whole thing is so convoluted, right? But in her world, I bet she thought she was getting over. I bet she thought she was getting over. She probably thought she had the perfect arrangement with Mark Walter. She thought she could take the $10 billion, cut out her sibs from inheriting the team while also staying in control. Now, I don't know exactly why Walter agreed to that in the first place, but it's neither here nor there because Walter is gonzo. And the idea that Jeannie was going to stay in control of the Lakers, 2 owners removed from actually having a majority interest, doesn't seem to make any sense. Except to her and her attorney who say, oh yeah, it makes sense. Read that contract over there. We have the paper. Not only does it make sense, but for life. For life. For life.
It doesn't make any sense.
I'm not going anywhere, yo. I don't know. I've known a few billionaires. Not intimately, but billionaires don't strike me as buying things that cost multi-billions of dollars and then letting others own them or run them, especially not when those things are the Lakers. Who paid $12.5 billion for the Lakers just to let a former owner twice removed run that show? How does that make any sense? I know. Bob Iger already said that he would honor Jeannie's arrangement with Walter. But Bob Iger also said, quote, if things change, they'll change. End of quote. Not ominous at all. He also said, quote, it's just premature to speculate at all about what we plan to do because, frankly, we haven't made any plans yet. The hell's going on, right? They don't even know. They don't even know, or they're not telling us. Like, how did we know? We thought we were going to buy that expansion franchise in Vegas. And they were talking about $7.5 million. But then we thought, well, you don't really know what you're getting with an expansion franchise. But damn, I'll tell you what. We know what we're getting with the Lakers. Hey, and by the way, even though the public doesn't know, we know there's a hell of a lot of blood in the water. We know the feds are over Walter. You know what? Let's lob him a phone call. Hey, Mark. Eigs and Kush. What do you think about selling your team? Yeah, I don't know about that. Well, you paid a valuation of 10 bill. How about we give you 11? How about you go to hell? All right. How about we give you 12? How about not interested? How about 12 and a half? All right, I'll have the lawyers draw this up. Hey, what's going on? They're just winging it right now, right? And that includes the Buss siblings. And again, I don't know who's going to win this fight. It just seems like Jeannie is clinging to this idea that's kind of hard for me to get behind. It's just hard for me to see her staying in power with the Lakers very deep into this new ownership tenure. For whatever reason, Walter was fine with it. For 5 years, for life, for between 5 years and life. I don't really know. I'm just trying to figure out. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I'm not intimately involved in any of this. I'm sure any of you lawyers listening would even have a better take on this than me. I'm just trying to figure out why Iger and Kushner would want her around when they just paid $12.5 billion to get the team. That's it. Not dead, can't quit. She's not dead, and she's not quitting. Very clearly. The Lakers are everything to her, and as long as she is still in this fight and still in the Laker mix, it means, well, frankly, I think I owe an apology or two today. I think I need to apologize to, among others, the Rambi, because if she's still in the fold, it's pretty clear that the Rambi are still in the fold. And as long as Jeannie is still around, then the Rambi, wherever they are, must still be around too. So with Jeannie clinging to her Laker control, that means the Rambi are also holding on for dear life to whatever it is she's empowered them to do. So what I'm saying is, to those poor no more Rambi protesters, sorry fellas, you're not out of the woods yet. I congratulated you guys yesterday, but it's almost like I've got to rip back those congrats, like ripping back a golden ticket. Sorry, you have to still work your angle. You have to still work your beat. You have to still keep showing up to Crypt with your homemade signs and your bullhorns and your chants of no more Rambis, no more Rambis. I mean, you've been at this, what, 10 years now? 15? As far as that Iger-Kushner ownership, you know what it feels like to me? Even though Walter felt like he owned that team for 14 seconds instead of 14 months, Iger and Kushner, their ownership feels like it's aging in dog years. I feel like they've already owned the team longer than Walter. How long until I and K say it's not worth it? It was fun to own the Lakers for a week and a half, but damn. I mean, yeah, pretty good cocktail party banner and pretty good to run around town for a week saying that we own the Lakers. But you know what? World's got plenty of billionaires.
World needs plenty of bartenders.
World needs plenty of billionaires.
World needs plenty of bartenders.
Man, just put that franchise up on Facebook Marketplace. You know, kind of like Walter did when you found it. Put it up on OfferUp. Put it up on Nextdoor. Put it up on Craigslist. Put it up on Etsy. Put it up on eBay. Buy it now. $14.5 billion. Just make sure you disclose in the description. It's like an open box. You know, it's not new in box. It's open it's like an open box, or it's like a refurbished franchise, like new. Some wear and tear, some cosmetic damage, a scratch or two visible by eye. Just make sure you put in the description that Jeannie and her army of lawyers will be at your door. Oh, and by the way, that roster. The roster still needs a floor spacer and another 3-and-D guy. Put that in the description. The team, there's a team. It's an actual team, remember? Oh yeah, we haven't talked about the team yet. How about that 3-and-D? How about that floor spacer? How about that laser? How about Luka? How's Luka feeling about all this? 1-800-636-8686. Anybody want to jump in here? Hey, look, if you want to be a lawyer, check that. If you are a lawyer, better yet, if you're a judge. I haven't heard from a judge in a while. If you're a judge and or a lawyer and you want to weigh in on this, go right ahead, because like I said, I'm neither one. I'm not here to break this thing down legally. I have above average IQ, but I am what I am, right? I'm a talk show host. I'll tell you what I am here for. Not to legally break it down, not to judiciously break it down, but I'm here for the drama. I'm here for the show. I do have my popcorn. I want to be very clear about this. The show is good, but not as good as Succession, but the show is better than the other show going on down the street, the Clip Show. So you have Succession, you have the Lake Show, you have the Clip Show, in that order, and then you have that bleep show that is the Dodgers. And the biggest bleep show of all is the Kyle Tucker Show. Bro, how did you go from being a $60 million player to the worst player, not on your own team, not in your own league, but arguably in the world? The hell happened to you? Man, LA really is the center of the universe right now, isn't it? Sorry, New York. It's actually us right now. All right, so I'm going to take a break. You can get up in here. I've got Jason Garrett at 12:40. Sam Amick, 2 p.m. Are you ready to level up your skills and stand out in today's evolving workforce? At University of Maryland Global Campus, you can gain real-world skills in leadership, communication, critical thinking, and more. Explore programs that apply emerging tech like AI and data science. UMGC, an online and accredited state university, offers more than 100 skills-based degrees and certificates that can help move your career forward. Apply by September 1st. Save with no application fee. Learn more at umgc.edu. umgc.edu.
You're listening to The Jim Rome Show.
Welcome back. Telephone call or two coming up next. Jason Garrett coming up in about 10 minutes. Quick reminder, right now, O'Reilly Auto Parts gets you back to savings. Fuel system additives can improve your vehicle's fuel economy and performance. Pick up select Royal Purple fuel system additives. Buy one, get one free. Plus, receive 4 times O Rewards points. Simply add it to your tank at your next fill up. The professional parts people can recommend all the parts and supplies you need for your vehicle. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store or shop online at O'ReillyAuto.com. All right, so as I mentioned, I know what I am, I know what I'm not, and what I am not is an attorney. What I am not is a judge. So what I said is, if anybody listening is an attorney or a judge, hit me up. Lob me a telephone call. Share your point of view. Give me your reaction. And what do you know? Not only did I find an attorney, I found my favorite attorney in the jungle. Normally he checks in on Thursdays, but he's here right now, so that's a win. We go to Charleston. Miles, my brother. What's good, counselor?
Oh, hey, Jim. How's it going today? Happy to step in and provide just a little insight, thanks in part to LexisNexis AI generative software. So anyway, it appears, Jim, and you actually did a great job pointing this out, that the entirety of her legal argument just rests upon the fact that 2017 court order from their previous complaining and fighting and not being able to get anything straight between siblings, which is sad in and of itself, requires that every single one of the co-trustees and trustees, Jim, have a, quote, fiduciary duty, which is different than just a normal duty under a contract. It's a duty of loyalty to all the other trustees and a duty of loyalty to the interests of the trust, right? So the trustees all have to sign off on any sale, and as I think you pointed out, the sale can't dip them below that threshold percentage that gets them to that point, right? So their legal argument, when I first heard of it, candidly, Jim, before I looked any of this up, so I haven't followed it that closely, was that, all 6 or however many siblings there are have to unanimously agree, but that's not it. It's that previous, so they're just going to fight and, call all the people that participated in the drafting of that 2017 agreement, to try to get a resolution to this. But, Jim, you know what's the resolution's going to be, man? It's going to be money, because that's always the resolution. So, yeah.
That helps. All right, Miles Rackham, thank you very much, counselor.
All right, bud.
You know what? So what he said, we're talking about, he said there has to be a fiduciary duty. And that's more than just a duty, but a fiduciary duty. It seems to me their fiduciary duty is to get their money and jam their sister. I think that's how they're interpreting that. Get our money, jam our sister. Because she already fired us. Like, the family members used to have roles with the team. The family members used to have pretty important roles with the team. The family members probably thought they would get the team one day, inherit the team. So she cut them out. They're no longer involved with the team. They're no longer a part of the franchise. And she told one of them, you should have never been born. So it got ugly. No way. So you've got all these siblings, some biological, some not, one who apparently should have never been born. But you've got the patriarch. And the patriarch was, frankly, a genius. Marketing genius, real estate developer. I mean, there's a reason why this family has owned one of the greatest franchises in all of sports for about 50 years. But it was Dr. Jerry Buss. Dr. Jerry Buss was the one who bought it, and he was the patriarch, and he kept it all together. And they had a dynasty, and they had this amazing run under him. And he really was an amazing owner. But then he passes on, and then the team passes on to the family. And the family's a bleep show. So before he passes on, he's got to decide, all right, looking at all these kids, I want them all, and he thought this, right? I want them all to get along. I want them all to share in this. I want to pass this thing along. Much like Walter probably thought about his family. He said as much. I want to pass this on to my children, and I want them all to be harmonious, and I want this thing to work, but I'm no idiot. All right? So they do what you do when you're that rich and you have an asset like that. You drop your trust, you drop your paperwork. I can remember way back in the day when I started drop a trust. My God, even for me, it took like over a year, and that was never ending. I can only imagine what it would take to set something like that up for them. Like years. And then he passes on and he made a decision. And it must have been like Succession too. Like all the kids were probably thinking, who's going to get the team? Damn, he picked Jeannie. And he did. And then the fighting started, right? Of course they don't get along. Of course they were all fighting for control. Of course they were all fighting for power. Of course they were all fighting for the team. So then it all starts to rip apart. She has all the control. She's the majority owner. She's governor. And then all of a sudden she decides, you know what? I'm going to sell this thing. It's got a valuation of $10 billion. That's a record. And the best part is, I still kind of get to run it. Or at least not run it, but still maintain the title of governor, meaning I get to represent the team. I get to go to league meetings. I'm the one. I'm the face. And I do get to make a lot of important decisions. Damn. And I got my money. And I got rid of them, the Sibs that I hate. Man, this worked out great until the guy that she did the deal with all of a sudden had the feds crawling up his ass. And now here we are. You know what? Maybe I'm an attorney. Maybe I should be an attorney. When we come back, Jason Garrett in the jungle. So again, if you want to react to this any way you want, go ahead. If you are an attorney like Miles, go ahead. If there is a judge listening, and you can prove you're a judge, not that you just play it on the radio, hit me up. Jason Garrett's coming up next. Sam Amick a little bit later on. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Jim Rome Show.
Welcome back. I am Jim Rome. So my next guest is in the process of checking in. I'll have him momentarily. One more thing I want to talk about today is this incredible race in the National League for the MVP. So who do you think the alleged Dodger Jim is going to vote for? If I had to vote, and I had to vote today, who do you think that I would vote for? Keep that in mind. Meanwhile, across town, you have the Lake Show, and then you have the Clip Show. So there's a whole lot going on in Southern California. Clippers, to me, not as interesting as the Lakers, but interesting nonetheless. And I will break that down for you as well. And there are some other things. 1-800-636-8686. I've already heard from one lawyer. So, again, if you have some legal expertise and you want to share your thoughts on this, go right ahead. More than anything else, I think for the rest of us, it's just drama. Just drama. You don't want to get too far into it, you know? On top of that, you can find me on X. You can find me in the chat, which I know a number of you have already found me in. You can also, if you want to go old school and you want to email, go ahead and do that too. Email me at Rome, R-O-M-E, at Habitate.com. Coming up a little bit later on, somebody who's been following this story pretty closely, of course, is Sam Amick. Sam Amick will have thoughts. Like Sam, like myself, we are not attorneys, but Sam has been reporting and he's been on this story, so we will get into that a little bit later on. And again, I want to be clear about this too. Not only am I not a lawyer and I'm not a judge, I do not have an MVP vote. But if I had a vote, I can tell you who it is. All right, as promised, we are joined right now by a 3-time Super Bowl winner. He's both a former NFL quarterback and a former NFL coach. He played 14 years in the NFL. As a head coach, he led the Dallas Cowboys from 2010 to 2019. He won 3 divisional titles. He was the 2016 NFL Coach of the Year. He is an NBC Sports NFL analyst. He's also the host of the Coach to Coach podcast, which is produced by Intersport. We are joined right now by Jason Garrett. Jason, it is great to see you. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing fantastic, Jim. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing so well. It is so good to see you. It's great to have you on the show. Let me jump right into this. Listen, you're beginning your 5th year with NBC, and you've got a new teammate on Football Night in America. Let me start right there, Jason. What was it like to work with Mike Tomlin on the Hall of Fame game broadcast? And then what do you expect a former Super Bowl winning coach to bring to the coverage this year?
Yeah, Mike is greatness. We had so much fun. We've had a few rehearsals leading up to that Hall of Fame game and had such a good time in Canton. And, I've known him for a long time. I always tell people the story. My last year playing was 2004, and I was 38 years old, and I was thinking about getting into coaching, broadcasting. And I said, what the hell? I'm going to play one more year. And I signed with Tampa Bay. And Brad Johnson was the quarterback, and Chris Sims and Brian Griese were down there. And, it wasn't a great playing situation for me, but it was a really good environment to learn football. John Gruden was the head coach, and Monty Kiffin and Rod Marinelli and Rich Bisaccia, these amazing coaches. And I walked out on the field the first day, and I wasn't on the field for 5 minutes. And I said, who is that guy? And it was Mike Tomlin coaching the DBs. I said, well, that guy's a hell of a coach. And, at the time, he was probably 32 years old and, went on to have greatness in Pittsburgh for so many years. So I've known him for a long time. I'm a big fan of his. And, we had a real good time in Canton, and we're excited about this year.
Jason, that's how you do it. You start a conversation by having a great anecdote. I love that so much. Of all the coaches you just mentioned, it might surprise you, but if I had to pick one to follow up on and ask you about, my dude, Rod Marinelli. Man, I loved Rod Marinelli. Everybody loved Rod Marinelli. What made him so unique?
Hey, Jim, however much you love Rod Marinelli, I love him 100 times more.
I know it. I believe it.
It was greatness. And I'll go back to that Tampa year. I'm sitting in the back of the room, and it's a team meeting, and John Gruden says, hey, special guest presenter today, Rod Marinelli, come on up here and talk to the team. And he goes walking up to the front, and he's got a little bit of a limp to him. And he turns around, and he says, give me your eyes, men. And everybody in that room sat up straight and paid attention to him, and eyes right on him. And, we were so fortunate to have him in Dallas. He was our defensive coordinator for a long time. And, there are so many great takeaways from Rod. First of all, just the kind of person he is, the kind of coach he is, how he made people better. He made his players better. He made coaches better. He made me better. But, he used to always talk about coach the man first. And he did that and made a huge impact on so many people's lives. And, I used to, when I was the head coach, I'd go sit in different coaches' meetings throughout the week. And I used to love Saturday morning with that defensive line group because it was Marinelli at his best, coaching football, but coaching life. And I love him to death.
Jason Garrett joining us. So, Jason, what about when you played at Dallas? Like, for instance, I've always felt that Jimmy Johnson was one of the most compelling figures I've ever seen, literally in all my years in this business. Even when I used to work at Fox back in the day, if I crossed paths with him in the Fox parking lot, you could almost feel this guy's aura and his it. When he was at the peak of his powers, how much of an impact did he have on you?
A huge impact. I was fortunate to play for Coach Johnson for 2 years. And, I say this to this day, I'll do a talk, to different companies about leadership and team and all of that. And, I use him as the example. The energy of the leader pervades the group. And he had such energy. You mentioned aura. I used to always feel like there were 10 Jimmy Johnsons in the building. You'd be walking down the hall and there he'd be. You'd be out on the practice field. You felt like his eyes were coming right through the back of your head. And, he had an amazing way of instilling belief in players. Allowing them to be who they are, their own personality, but also holding them accountable to a high standard and then getting everybody to pull in the same direction. And he convinced a lot of superstar players that if they put their individual pursuits aside and focus everything on the team goal, we're going to have great success. And as he used to say, when we have success, there'll be spoils for all of us for the rest of our lives. And it was so true. And, I could go on and on and on about Coach Johnson when I was playing for him. But then since then, he's been such a great mentor and friend to me. I love him to death.
Jason Garrett joining us for a few more moments. Jason, so I'm not looking for you to drag Jerry Jones because you've worked for him in a number of different capacities. But egos are egos. If the two of them could have coexisted, or if Jerry maybe didn't decide that he didn't need Jimmy and the thing just played out, how many rings do you think that franchise would have?
Well, it's a great hypothetical question. I know it was a young team with a lot of talented players and guys who were committed to winning. The work ethic of that group during that time was off the charts, and the best players set the standard for the rest of us. And, I do think the reality of it is, if you remember, the collective bargaining agreement and the Players Association, it's when free agency and the salary cap kicked in. So I do think the challenges of being a championship team and maintaining that for a long time were going to be difficult, particularly at the outset as people were trying to figure out how the whole system worked. But having said that, Jimmy was an amazing coach. We had a great group of players. If that group had stayed together, there's no question in my mind we would have won more Super Bowls.
Jason Garrett joining me. Jason, you launched a podcast, the Coach to Coach podcast. I'm curious, there's so many podcasts, but you don't need to do this. Obviously, this is something you want to do. So what topics are you focusing on for the show, and who are some of the guests you've had so far?
It's been really fun for me. It's called Coach to Coach, and I partnered up with a good friend of mine, Charlie Besser, who runs Intersport. And he and I, for years, have been talking about this idea of leadership. He's been the CEO of a company, and I've been a quarterback and then a coordinator and a head coach. Those are leadership roles. And, we both believe that leadership principles are transferable, from sports to business and life and vice versa. And, it's something that he and I talked about. I actually did a little thing on the evolution of throwing a football with NFL Films and how people have, the great quarterbacks through the years. If you think about Joe Namath, to say a guy like Aaron Rodgers, they both can throw the heck out of the ball, but they do it differently. And that technique has changed. And so I did this project with NFL Films, and Charlie saw it. And he said, hey, come out to Chicago. Let's visit about something. And we started talking about leadership and maybe doing something, along these lines. And we said, why don't we talk to other coaches and talk about, not about yesterday's game or the upcoming draft or whatever, but let's talk about, team building and leadership and creating a culture where everybody can thrive. And it's been a really fun experience for me. It's something I've been doing for a long time. When I was the head coach of the Cowboys, I spent a lot of time with some amazing people, Coach K and Larry Brown and all these guys from different sports where I learned so much from. And so we just decided to do this. And our first interview was with Coach Dungy. That dropped about, 6 weeks ago. And then since then, Corey Close, the amazing women's basketball coach at UCLA, national champions. Joe Girardi, the former Yankee manager. Kelly Amonte Hiller, the women's lacrosse coach at Northwestern. She's won 9 national championships. Sean McDermott, Joe Madden, those both just dropped. We have Dan Campbell dropping tomorrow. So it's been so much fun for me to talk to these guys and really sit back and learn from these men and women who've done it at such a high level.
All right, first of all, I love the topic. I love the subject matter. Number 2, you're booking the hell out of the show. Number 3, I have to tell you, Larry Brown's always been one of my favorite guys. He came on the show many, many years ago for many, many years. This may surprise you, Jason, before you go. Actually, I'm very friendly with Corey Close because Corey, I went to UC Santa Barbara as a student and got my start there. Corey was a star player at UCSB and an assistant coach. I mean, I adore her. I love her. Did you know her before you talked to her?
I didn't. A lot of these people that we booked, I know I have a relationship with, and I admire her from afar. Obviously, we followed her team this year, and, we got a chance to see her in interviews. And when her name came up, I was like, I'm all in. We got to get her on the show. And I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to that one. She is greatness. And I can't tell you the number of people in football and out of football who've listened to it have come up to me and said, wow, she just blew me away. And she shared a couple stories demonstrating the importance of humility as a leader with me that I just thought were off the charts. I'll tell you one of them. She said that we had won the Big Ten championship. We won by 56 points. And so she said that the tournament's coming up in about a week and a half, and I got back to California. She said I was nervous as can be because I just didn't think that, it was impossible, the human nature part of it, that our team would think that, hey, we're just going to roll through this thing. So she said, I came back and I was practicing really hard. I was on everybody. I was edgy. I was mad at them. I was a real stickler for all the details. And she was a couple days into these kinds of practices leading up to the tournament. Her 2 best players came up to her and said, hey, coach, can we see you after practice? She said, sure. They came to her office and they said, what are you doing? And she's like, what do you mean? She's like you've completely changed. We've had such a great year. Everybody's working so hard and you're coming in and it's like you're mad at us. It's like you're panicking before the tournament.
Wow.
And she's like, really? And she said, I'm just trying to keep everybody on edge and on the details. And the captain said to her, hey, you don't need to do that. Just make sure you explain what you're doing. We want to practice hard. We want to be on the details. Nobody wants to win more than we do.
We're good.
Just be yourself. Let's not be panicked about this thing. And she took it. She thanked them for sharing that with her. She kind of reset herself and obviously rolled right through the tournament.
She is a humble leader. Jason, so sorry to jump in, but we're up against the end of the hour. It is so great to come together with you. That was a great conversation. I appreciate it. Jason, let's do it again soon. Thanks so much. Hour 2 straight ahead.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
All right, so we start hour number 2, which is wide open in the way of interviews because there are none. My thanks to Jason Garrett. Like I said, first time ever on the program. I thought he murdered it. Thought he was awesome. It's too bad we got in a little bit late and ran out of time at the very end of the hour, but I thought he was so strong anecdotally, had some great takes, great energy. Hope we can do that again soon. That was fun. Program brought to you by FanDuel. Jim Rome Show, presented by FanDuel. My thanks to them. All right, so this hour is open. Coming up next hour, Sam Amick will be joining us. 1-800-636-8686. Get in the tweets. Get in the chat. get in the email, get on X. Let me check this out. This is from chat now. At the MP Charles 25. I used to think Garrett was a goober on NBC, but this was a good sesh. That was a really good sesh. Really good sesh. I thought he came off great. I'm really happy with that. And as I mentioned, when I asked him about his podcast, it wasn't like that perfunctory pitch of the podcast. He was all about it. He was into it. And they are booking the hell out of that. And I love seeing my pal Corey Close. Corey Close is something. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I don't want you to think that I'm gauchoing out. But she did win a national championship with UCLA. And she had been knocking on the door. And she is a gaucho great. Part of gaucho royalty. And I've had her on the Reinvention Project. I've had her on this show. And Corey, when she was a young assistant coach, she would spend a lot of time talking to John Wooden. I mean, she would just study with him. She would spend hours upon hours upon hours just soaking it all up. And I don't want to say that she's become a version thereof because there's only one Wizard of Westwood. But, man, Corey is so well-respected. And you heard Jason Garrett say it. Jason Garrett said a number of people have seen that episode and said, wow, she's amazing. And those are football people, presumably. I'm sure there's some corporate people and some people who want to learn about leadership. But Corey is really unique and really different and very, very special. And I appreciate my friendship with her. So I was really happy to see that he had done her and that he had that reaction to her. Aaron in Iowa, quote, Garrett was way better than I thought that he would be. Good job, good effort. I've got another take on Jason Garrett. I think what happens is, number one, he's had some reps. He's probably had a lot of reps. Like, we're only exposed to what we saw of Jason Garrett on the sideline with the Cowboys. And then we were only exposed to what we've seen of him on NBC, which is not a bad thing. But when you're on a network like that and you're in a place like that, they parcel out your real estate. I know because I've done shows like that. When I was on the NFL Today on CBS, believe me, every second that I was allotted, and I was not allotted a lot of seconds, they counted every second. You wouldn't believe that when I used to do that program, and they would say to me at the beginning of the week, the great Drew Kaliski. Drew Kaliski would start every Monday, the week that I was on that show, and give me a list of topics and say, hey, Jim, can I get your takes on these things? And then the week would develop, and then I would give him my takes. And then maybe the news would change, and he'd swap one out. But believe me, they measure every second, especially when you're in those tighter windows. And I was in the tightest window. What I'm saying about Jason Garrett is a show like this or a podcast like he has, or if he does a corporate speaking engagement, he's got more real estate. He's got more room. So he can kind of expand on things and maybe bring a certain kind of energy to it. And I think that's why he was able to show up the way he did today, because he had room to do what he did. And I think that's why maybe he surprised some of you. But he was awesome, with a lot of energy and really good anecdotally. I've always said this as a host. Whenever somebody says, if you have a minute, can I tell a story? Or I want to share a story with you. I'm like, hell yeah. That's what we want, man. We want stories. So and he knows. He started his response to a Mike Tomlin question, which could have been just a basic, yeah, I had a great time working with Mike. Mike's going to be great for the network. He said, let me tell you a story about Mike Tomlin. And I knew right then there it was going to be awesome. 2 hams, $2. Check that. I wish. Yeah, I wish. 2 hams, $20. Quote, she said she are the owner.
There's no manager there?
She says she are the manager.
She did say she are the owner.
She says she are the manager.
No, that's not what we're talking about. Gerald Milcham, 6041. Give me back my shares.
Give me back my stock.
Sign Jeannie. Stranger, quote, I'm not a Lakers fan at all, but now that they are as corrupt as Enron, I am interested. It's not that corrupt. It's a lot of bad stuff going on. but it's not that corrupt. First of all, the bad stuff, if there is bad stuff, and there is some bad stuff, involved the former owner, and that's why that owner, over the cover of night, over some weekend, unloaded the team. That's not to say there's bad stuff with the new owners. We don't know that. It's not even to say that there's bad stuff with the Buss family. They're just fighting over it. This is what they do. Siblings fighting over the asset. Darren L. Rass, no more Forbes. No more Forbes. Signed the lady 911 caller.
Okay,
who are you? What is your name?
Mike Forbes.
Okay, that's not funny, Mike. I'm going to file a formal complaint.
I don't blame you a bit.
Because you know what? This is really not very funny.
I know it's not.
It actually is really funny.
It's not going to be very funny when I go in front of your supervisor and tell him.
That will be funny, too.
I guess he can just listen to the tape.
Yes, he can. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, sorry doesn't cut it. I need a police officer.
Like I always say about that caller, had you just handled your children the way you handled Forbes, you wouldn't have had to call 911 because you couldn't get control of your kids. That's not what 911's for. 911, to my best understanding, is for when there's actual emergencies, not when your kids are acting out and out of control and bigger than you, unless they're a physical or violent threat to you. She's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I just got home from work. I'm tired. They're mouthing off to me. They won't do what I asked them to do. One of them kicked a hole in the door. So Forbes, thinking it was a night at the Improv, said, you want me to come over and shoot him? And then all of a sudden, wham, the switch flipped. Now she's got control. Yeah, well, if you had flipped that switch, you wouldn't have needed to call Forbes. Wait, run that back, Albie. We'll rewind that a little bit.
Over to shoot her?
A little bit more, Albie.
I can't control her.
Okay, did you want us to come over to shoot her? Are you there?
Excuse me?
That's a joke. Okay,
who are you? What is your name?
Mike Forbes.
Okay, that's not funny, Mike.
All right, so anyway, he actually said that. That was a 911 dispatch operator when she laid out her problem and said, do you want me to come over or do you want us to come over and shoot her?
When I go in front of your supervisor and tell him.
I understand.
I guess he can just listen to the
now you got control. Now you got control. You can control Forbes, but not your own kids. But then again, what is the screening process for 911 dispatch operators, or what was it back then, wherever he was, that guy was comfortable enough with the tape rolling to say, hey, you want me to come over and shoot her? And then the dead air. Wait, what? What did you just say? That was a joke. And then all of a sudden, Forbes knew it was over. No way. No way that plane's not going in the side of the mountain, Forbes. No way you're coming out of that. V and the Fee. Love all this Laker talk, Jim. This is such a bleep show. Keep your eyes over there. Sign the NBA, covering up for Baltimore and the Clippers, who are lady bums using shopping bags as purses. What a bleep show. It's just not as entertaining to me, which is why I didn't lead with them, but it is a bleep show nonetheless. Baltimore. Good one, V. Baltimore is busy negotiating his own investigation. How does that work? Doesn't the entity which investigates somebody who allegedly did something wrong investigate and then rule? These are two different concepts. Investigation, negotiation. Why does, quote, Baltimore get to negotiate his own investigation? How about the other Baltimore in all this? Powder. Baltimore 1 and Baltimore 2. Are they in cahoots?
The officiating
Mikey Soriani, 23. Since Walter is selling off his assets before he gets busted by the feds, it's just a matter of time before he sells off your Dodgers, Jim. Not my Dodgers. I have no ownership stake in the Dodgers. They keep saying no, by the way. The more they say no, the more I think, yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I think when they're saying no, what they mean is no, not before we sell off our soccer assets. And then maybe. Man, poor Walter, all he's going to be left with is his Sparks. Here's a super chat. Thumbs up for Jim Rome. Signed Rig the Algo. That's right, Rig the Algo. Hit the thumbs up. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell. Rig the Algo. My man, best super chat ever. Hey, by the way, I wouldn't be the first nor the last. In fact, I'd be the only one who didn't try that. Everybody's trying to rig the algo. Good man. Who's that from? JDT 2003. Thumbs up for Jim Rome. Please do that. And rig the algo. 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 Do that. Show up in front of the crypt, because obviously you're wasting your time with no more Rambis. Show up in front of the crypt with your homemade signs that say, rig the algo. Rig the algo. I love it. I don't play favorites, but that's my favorite chat in quite some time. He's right. Or she's right. Whoever it is. Rig the algo. Hit subscribe. Ring the bell. Hit thumbs up. Rig the algo. Do you like what I'm doing? Do you want me to be around for a minute? Do what that person said. Rig the algo. This guy writes, the Clapper? Debuting on the program? Is Jim about to give the jungle karma to the Cowboys? Is this their year? They all seem to think so.
That's all it.
They all seem to think so, don't they? Okay, now, first of all, technically that's not karma for the Cowboys. Yes, he played there. Yes, he won rings there. Yes, he coached there. The Clapper. But I don't know that he's got any kind of relationship still yet with them. So, no, that's not technically karma to the Cowboys. Now, to your point, is this their year? They all seem to think so, don't they? Between Dak going with that super lame Gotti, that acronym, super cringy Gotti, greatest offense there is. CeeDee Lamb is saying things like he and Pick could go down as the greatest receiving tandem ever. They're feeling themselves. The defense is much improved, but then again, how could it not be much improved when it was like the worst defense in the NFL last year? They'll be better. Here's some reaction also. This is not off chat. To show you that I'm not doing it exclusively off chat. Brian C. and SP. Jim, give yourself a round of applause for this Jason Garrett conversation. You know he will. Did you just call him the Clapper? The Clapper. Look, dude, he was good. He was really, really good. Number one, he said yes. That's an instant dub. Number two, he showed up great. Great. I'm really pumped on that. Stacy Moore, 32381. Do you want me to come over and shoot them? Sent Mike Forbes to Jeannie Buss after she called to complain about her siblings. Wow, dude. I don't think she called 911.
Did you want us to come over to shoot her?
I do know she called her attorney. No more Rambis. I don't want to hear no more Rambis. I want to hear rig the algo, rig the algo, rig the algo. That's from Baconson. Siblings arguing over inherited money? No way. Signed, the sky is blue, water is wet, and Parody Larry is on hold.
Do.
At Dan_the man Dan. It's kind of redundant. Dan the man Dan. Hey Jim, how's that Tucker dude working out? Is it the best $240 million the Dodgers ever spent? Have fun with that. Signed, relieved Cubs fans. Yeah, right? Yeah, I don't care. It's not my money. Is it the best money they've ever spent? I'd argue it's the worst money they've ever spent. I'd argue I'd argue it's the worst money anybody's ever spent. I would argue, frankly, watching him right now, he's one of the worst players I've ever seen. The hell happened to this guy? And I don't even say that as Dodger Jim. If it were any other team and that guy was the biggest offseason signing for that amount of money, I would have the same exact take. The hell happened to that guy? That guy looks to me like Andrew Friedman was walking down the street in L.A., just saw some random dude and said, hey, you, would you like to make $60 million a year? Yes. Okay. I have a few questions for you. Have you ever played baseball? No? Good. I need to see you at Dodger Stadium at 3 o'clock today for batting practice. When you arrive, we will give you a uniform, a bat, and a glove, and a $60 million per year contract, as long as you have never played baseball before, and then you just go out there and you do your thing. Okay. What's your name anyway, sir? Kyle Tucker. Great. See you at 3 p.m. Be on time, or I'll find somebody else who's never played baseball before, and I'll give them that job instead. That's what the guy looks like out there. And that's what the guy looks like at the plate. The hell happened to that guy? I mean, saying like, oh man, I got the yips. Like everything about his game, everything has gone straight to hell. It's crazy. Yeah, I bet you Cub fans are relieved. You're welcome. Thing about the Dodgers, the incredible thing about the Dodgers, not dead, can't quit. Man, they're garbage. They are ass right now.
Garbage.
But the thing about the Dodgers, before you dance on their grave, one thing to keep in mind. If that rotation gets healthy, we've seen this act. If the rotation gets healthy in time for the postseason, they've got a shot. Now, granted, their other problem is the back end of their bullpen with Rooster Man and the other arsonist they have back there. But remember, that was kind of an issue last year, and they worked that out, right? I wouldn't dance on their grave just yet, but they are ass right now. I would definitely own that. All right, when we come back, Stucknut, rig the Alpo. No, don't do that, nut. You know better. Bums to their lady bums trying to spice up dinner. I didn't see that part of it. Wow. Bro. People eating dog food is not funny, man. In fact, none of this is funny. Except the parts that's coming out of my mouth. Anyway, Alvy, why don't we break? This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, with an auto warranty about to expire, or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost, month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. That's right, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-675-7716 right now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection plan today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. How do you beat this? Call us for your free quote right now. 800-675-7716. 800-675-7716. What do you have to lose? Call 800-675-7716. Once again, 800-675-7716.
You're listening to The Jim Rome Show.
Woody, Damian, my man, it is so good to see you, dude. How you doing?
I'm well, Jim. How you doing, brother?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Really good to see you. Listen, before you and I talk ball, let me start right here. You confirmed last week that you will be leaving ESPN at the end of the month when your contract expires. My guy, you have had an amazing run there. You have had a tremendous run there. Congratulations on that. And I'm curious, how are you processing it all, and how would you describe your headspace or your mindset right now?
Well, Jim, I put out in 15 years in any spot is a hell of an accomplishment. I work with a lot of really good people at ESPN. The environment was always great, and I'm just very fortunate and blessed to be able to have the career that I've had at ESPN, and I'm looking forward to what's next for my television future.
No, I'm glad to hear that. You had a great run there. You're right. 15 years is a long time to be in any one spot. All right, so let's talk some ball for a minute. What was your reaction to Jackson Dart's frustration over having to head back to the blue tent after taking that shot and staying on the ground?
Well, I mean, listen, you're talking about a guy who has, we've seen Jackson Dart have multiple concussions throughout his rookie year. And so, it's the spotter's job to go out there and sometimes protect the player from himself. And Jackson Dart was laying on the ground for a long period of time. And so in that particular situation, they're going to use caution, especially when you talk about the quarterback position.
Damon, it seems pretty simple, doesn't it? I mean, look at this. He takes a pretty good look. Now, granted, it's not like last year where he was taking on tacklers and put himself in harm's way, but look how long he's down. What do you expect, right?
Yeah, exactly, Jim. Listen, I know he got hit in his torso. He wasn't a headshot or anything like that. But when you're lying on the ground for that extended period of time, I mean, what else you expect from the league and the personnel on the field to do to go out there and protect a player in that instance?
That's it. Damien Woody joining us. Damien, let me ask you something. As somebody who played the game as long as you did and have covered the game as long as you have, I want to ask you about preseason games. For instance, how much stock do you put in them? As an example, is there any real significance in Rams rookie Ty Simpson looking as sharp as he did Saturday after all the questions as to why he was taken with the 13th pick overall?
Well, Jim, I always say the preseason games don't count, but they're important. And for these rookie quarterbacks coming into the game and be able to absorb the mass amount of information and be able to just go out there when the live bullets are flying, getting guys lined up, the cadence, the whole operation, and to be able to execute at a high level as Ty Simpson did, I think is really important because I've always said, Jim, you're one hit away from being out there and playing. And we know the Los Angeles Rams have very high aspirations as a ball club. So he needs to be ready. And he did, this first game out, he really showed a lot as a rookie.
Damien Woody joining us. I like that line. The games don't count, but they are important. All right, so speaking of the Rams, Aaron Donald was back at the Rams facility. Damien, as a former offensive lineman, how much of a nightmare would it have been to try to block a front four that included both Donald and Myles Garrett?
Oh, Jim, listen, I wouldn't want any parts of that. I'm glad I'm retired. I don't want any parts of that because who are you going to double? That's the thing when you talk about this Rams team. If Aaron Donald finds his way back out on the field, first of all, he's not going to come back if he doesn't feel like he can go out there and be a semblance of the player that he was, a three-time, defensive player of the year or whatever he was. But, you're talking about multiple players that are future Hall of Famers in Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald. And like I said, who are you going to double? This is a team that's going to score a lot of points. They're going to be ahead in a lot of games. And on third down, that's when he's going to be a menace for opposing offensive lines.
Can you imagine, Damien, if he was who he was, arguably one of the greatest players ever, you can even argue maybe the greatest defensive player ever, if he was who he was and he did all of that with everybody focused on him every second that he was on the field, can you imagine, even if he's not what he was when he comes back, how great it would be if he wasn't the top priority? Like, how happy is that guy going to be not to see 2 and 3 dudes on him every single time he lines up?
Oh, it's tremendous, Jim. You talk about, listen, we know Myles Garrett is going to draw a lot of attention. There's no question about it. But when you're talking about now Aaron Donald, first of all, he's not going to play all the snaps. They got other guys on the defensive line that's going to play snaps. But when he's going to come alive, Jim, is on third down. Think about it. He's third down in critical situations. And now he's going to have all that juice to really rush the passer. And you got Myles Garrett playing next to you. Again, pick your poison of who you want to double team in that scenario.
Breaking news involving our favorite topic. Breaking news involving our favorite fam, the Bus Fam. We have a new Bus family statement. Quote, Johnny, Jimmy, Janie, Joey, and Jesse. Stop right there. People always used to get a kick out of our family because my family of 4 were all J's. Man, we got nothing on these people. My dad was Jay. My mom was Jan, is Jan. My sister's Jody. I'm Jim. People always thought that was kind of funny. But we're not exactly Jerry, Jeannie, Johnny, Jimmy, Janie, Joey, Jesse. Anyway, from the new Bus family statement, Johnny, Jimmy, Janie, Joey, Jesse have made the decision to sell the family's remaining stake, and we remain united in that decision. We intend to move forward thoughtfully, respectfully, and through the appropriate process. Dan Woike's got that. All right, so they really don't care what Jeannie has to say. They're going through with it. But Jeannie just said, no, you're not. Y'all can't do anything without me. And I didn't vote. I abstained. You're not selling jack without my approval. I'm still the gov. And their response to that was, yes, we are. And we will move forward thoughtfully, respectfully, through the appropriate process. So in other words, nothing's changed. Oh, you're still going to sell. Here's another statement. It's from Water. I'm still wet. Thoughtfully. Oh, here's one. The Sky has issued a statement. I'm blue. Here we go. Albie, where's rat? Round and round. 2 T's. I mean, a lot of lawyers making a hell of a lot of money. But then again, there is a lot of money at stake.
Let's make some money!
Yeah, they will. Everybody will. Everybody will. Man, Jerry, the doctor must be so proud of the fam. Just the way you drew it up, Jerry. Man, he had to know. He had to know deep down it was going to go like this. When he went in the ground, deep down, he had to know it was going to go like this. When he went into the ground, he had to know they'd all run it into the ground at some point. Here's a lawyer at Kest Law 20, but he's not responding to this. Do you think the Cubs will trade Conforto for Tucker? That'd be a deal. It's getting rather Conforto-esque, except he wasn't making $60 million like Tucker. Now, I've seen guys slump. I've seen guys even get the yips. I've never seen a player of that magnitude have his entire game and every aspect of that game fall apart at the same time. Is it the money? Is it the pressure? Is he pressing? Is it mechanical? Is it above his shoulders? Yes. Whatever it is, it's a freaking disaster. A disaster. At Rome's Burner, any credit to LeBag for bouncing out of Lakerland right before this bleep show? Wore Bronny is a victim of child abuse. No, that's not why he bounced. One has absolutely nothing to do with the other. I mean, LeCap and LeCap's team, because they cap, would probably have you believe, oh, we saw this coming. We knew. No, you didn't.
People probably think
you
I'm lying about that.
You know how I know you didn't? You didn't know they were making a move for Luka Doncic. You didn't know they were trading your best friend AD. You didn't know any of this. This has nothing to do with the other. And they sold the team after you were long gone. You did not see this coming. Don't cap LeCap. No, he gets no credit for bouncing. Now, is he happy to be out of this bleep show? Maybe. But he didn't bounce because he knew. He bounced because he was butthurt And again, where did he land? We don't really know. We still, because it's all about the Lakers, we're not thinking about Philadelphia. Now, I'm sure they're getting their work in. They're getting to know each other. We don't know how that's going to work. We don't know how those pieces are going to fit. We don't know whether or not they're going to mesh. We don't know whether or not they're going to stay healthy. We don't know that this is all for the better. We don't know if they've got a better chance of winning. We do know that there's a lot of things going on now that were not going on before here. But don't assume that Philadelphia is going to be just fine. We don't know that at all. Jalen's over there right now, and he left Boston when he was an NBA Finals MVP, but we're going to assume that he's going to be just fine. We got Joel, who looks like he's in great shape, but we don't know that he's going to stay healthy. We got LeBron, who's turning 42. We don't know that he's going to be healthy. How do we know? One basketball and lots of egos and lots of guys that need the ball. Don't know. Let's go to the phones. Oh, looky here. My dog in Sacramento. Rhino in Sacktown. Look it. It's Rhino. Hey, Rhino, what's going on, dude?
Hey, what's up, Jim? Happy Tuesday. How are you?
Good, dude. Good. How about you? How are things?
Things are great. On the right side of the dirt, as you say in the Reinvention Project, brother. So this was my wheelhouse for about 8 years. What's going on right now as a probate and trust administrator here in California. Miles is on the right track about the fiduciary duty for the co-trustees, which actually extends to the same duties as a licensed professional here in California. That said, Jeannie is going to be switching hats to the beneficiary side because she is also a beneficiary. And in California, beneficiaries are allowed certain protections under the probate code. So she may go in ex parte, which would be an emergency petition asking for things like formal appraisals of the franchise, future appraisals, tax consequences, and it will be in the co-trustees' best interest and burden to prove that this sale is the best thing for everybody, including the remainder beneficiaries that we're not talking about.
What? Rakim? What the hell just happened? That guy
Rack
can't get
him.
through a beef. That guy can't get through a phone call. That guy can't even deliver a punchline. What the hell just happened?
Boy in New York. Spark.
That was Ryan in Sacktown? Our Ryan in Sacktown describing his previous life and breaking down probate? Fiduciary? What?
What?
He was speaking a different language altogether. Normally he's speaking gibberish. Normally it comes off, no offense, Rhino, with the sophistication of a kindergartner. Bro, what did you just do? What did you just say? And you gave up that life? This guy, that is the most stunning thing I've heard on the show since John in New York did what he did. I'm in awe. You can see my reaction if you're watching on the stream. Like, I don't believe what I'm hearing. That all of a sudden, that guy shows up speaking a different language altogether. Polished, intentional, purposeful, speaking with authority and conviction. That guy normally couldn't deliver a punchline. That guy normally couldn't get through a beef without getting run. Like, always a really likable guy. Just not really good at anything. And then he just broke that down the way he broke that down? The hell is going on? I don't believe what I just heard. What did I just hear? Tom, would you like to share your reaction to that?
Just say I couldn't follow what he was laying down.
Right,
so good for you,
right.
Rhino. You got me today.
Tom couldn't follow what he was laying down.
Ex parte.
UC Santa Barbara Jim couldn't follow what he was laying down. That was Ryan. I'm being so careful how I say this. Ryan, let's just say you weren't exactly known for your intellectual acuity before then. I cannot believe that dude just laid that down. Holy crap, Rhino. Dude, bravo. Well done, man. If the smack-off were about legal infighting between rich, spoiled families, you'd have a golden ticket. Bro, you might even have a strap. Miles, I would never say Rhino has anything on you, but I'd put him in the same club at this point, even though you are a lawyer, Miles, and Rhino's not that. But I got to say, Miles, he more than held his own. Like, he's in the same conversation based on that call. Now, Miles, your body of work obviously would annihilate the dude. But he had himself a moment. Like, Rhino, I'm still talking about you. I can't even believe what I just heard. I literally do not believe what I just heard. Here's some chat reaction. Keith Morris, 1198. War, more legalese. At Raz Management, quote, a sports take doofus, but basically a legal savant. It seems like it, right? Like, I'm telling you, it's almost like he had a brain transplant. Like face off, but brain off. Like that was a totally different human being. I've heard years of really juvenile, poorly constructed takes from that guy, and they take something super technical and just goes bam, 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 and laid it out and just drop the mic. And I'm like, what? Jack and NC, geez, Rome. I hope Rhino called in pro bono. That's at least 500 bills right there. Hey, no joke, dude. No joke. Maybe instead of me calling Mike McCann next time, I'll just call Rhino. Amber is in. Not to correct Tommy, but that was the wrong name on the screen. Rhino is fiduciary. Emphasis on douche. Amber, you're like the 10th person to try to make that joke.
War Lady clones.
Amber, for once, you did not win. Amber, I never thought that I would say this. Rhino won. Rhino got over on you, Amber. The jungle is like the UFC, Amber. Everybody loses. Even you. 713 Red Leg, quote, Ryan made me seasick with that tidal wave of legalese. I'm telling you, every dude has a day, man. Everyone has a day. Rhino's having a day. Look at this guy, Dion, AZ6. Ryan's been watching Law and Order. If he has, he's been watching it a hell of a lot. I don't know. I've never actually seen that show. I've never had any interest. It seems to me you'd have to watch that show a lot to sound like that. Like, I'm in awe. I cannot believe that that's the Ryan in Sacktown that I know. Because I've heard his body of work. That'd be like me showing up one day all of a sudden after all these years and doing the entire show in Mandarin Chinese. Like, damn, Rome. Who knew? We didn't know you could speak fluently another language. Well, now you do. That's Ryan. Jay in Tampa. Jerry and I are looking up at the rest of the Bus family with frowns on our faces. Signed, David Stern. Here's another one. Kevin in Virginia. Hey, Jim, was that Ryan or Goodwill Hunting? Exactly. Was that the janitor or was that like some absolute mathematical genius?
Let's end you.
Yeah, with all due respect, I think you got the equation wrong. We're gonna go have some sex with with your girlfriends now. That'd be like Alex Hattie in the back showing up at the whiteboard and going, I'll solve that equation. I didn't call you a janitor, Alex. I'm just saying.
Alex!
It's like Ryan. Ryan the janitor. Ryan, I'm having a little fun with you now, Ryan. Ryan the jungle custodian, like facing down some Supreme Court justice. or some judge saying, all right, dismissed. Case dismissed because of Ryan the Jungle Custodian. I can't even believe it. That was great, Rhino. Good on you, bro. Good on you. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, still wide open. I do want to talk about the MVP race in the National League. I don't ever remember it being this close. So who do you think I've got? A guy formerly of the 818 or the greatest baseball player ever? I'll have that. Sam Amick, top of the hour. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to The Jim Rome Show.
Yeah, we'll talk some NBA with Sam Amick in about 10 minutes. I like to find some viral moments and kind of comment on them once in a while. So when I was a kid, I played tennis. I've told you this story, but when I was a kid, I played tennis, and this was so long ago, there weren't actual... We didn't really use water thermoses or coolers back in the day. I mean, maybe once in a while. But we would actually fill up tennis cans full of water. It was like the stupidest thing ever. So I play in the Valley. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley where it's like 150. So not only does the water taste like tennis balls, it's hot. These are like aluminum cans. So obviously things have changed. Maybe you've seen this. This was in Cincinnati. Amanda Anisimova. Apparently in the changeover, she's sitting there gathering herself. She reaches down to pick up some of her hydration, a beverage, and it was the most amazing thing. She picked up a beer. Look at this. If you're watching on the stream, on the changeover, between games, look at her. She picked up a beer. What's Amanda drinking? And not exactly trying to hide it either. Like right out there in broad daylight, like a TV camera wasn't going to pick that up. Just smashing a beer. In the middle of a match, she's drinking a beer. I've watched a lot of tennis in my day. Never seen that before. So initially I'm thinking to myself, no way. There's no way she's drinking a beer. It's got to be, okay, if it's not a beer, what is it? Apple juice? I don't know, urine? I mean, look at it. If you're watching it, it's got to be one of those three things. How could that be? What could that apple cider maybe? Beer? Urine? Sparkling apple cider? None of these things would be good, though, if you're playing tennis. So TMZ writes, tennis star, mystery drink confuses commentators during the match. It confused all of us. It confused the world. If you're watching it on the stream, if you're listening on the radio, it looks identical to beer.
It's confusing.
It's a plastic cup with maybe 25% of it filled. It looks exactly like beer. If not beer, then what? So we don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I'm just thinking to myself, wow, man, that takes some nerve. Drinking beer during a match. Come to find out it was not beer, unfortunately. I mean, whenever I say, if something seems too good to be true, it generally is. But you know what it is? It's Red Bull. That's what Red Bull looks like when you pour it out. Normally, we don't really, I mean, I don't know. Most people don't pour out Red Bull like that into a glass. If you're watching on the stream, yet again, that's exactly what it looks like. Red Bull. Normally, if you smash a Red Bull right out of the can, you don't know what it looks like because the can's not clear. Or if you mix Red Bull into another drink, you probably don't know exactly what it looks like. But if you pour Red Bull into a champagne glass, it looks exactly like what she was drinking. Now, maybe she needs an energy pick-me-up, but if you're playing professional tennis and you're drinking Red Bull, wouldn't dehydration be kind of an issue? Jim Rome getting on his Peloton on Saturday morning for 2 hours after tying one on Friday night. Can't believe how senseless that is. But no, unfortunately, too good to be true. That was not beer. That was Red Bull. She was smashing Red Bull during her match. Man, I wanted that to be beer so badly. I could not wait for that to be beer. But of course it was not. Come on, Amanda. The irony is Red Bull might be worse in that spot than whatever beer she's drinking, allegedly. Red Bull, man. That quench your thirst? Dehydrate much? Anyway, so that mystery is solved. As much as we all wanted that to be beer, that was not beer. All right, when we come back, Sam Amick is scheduled to join me. If you're on hold and you want to stay there, I'll get you a phone call. 1-800-636-8686. And I do want to weigh in on who I think. If I had a vote, I don't have a vote, but if I had a vote And I had to vote today who would be the MVP of the National League because right now it's a match race. All that still ahead. XM. In addition to that, we are on the Rome TV channel, which has its own 8 platforms, and we are on YouTube on our channel. If you head on over to the YouTube channel, if you don't mind, can you smash that sub button and then ring the bell? That'd be awesome. All right, with all that said, as promised, we're joined right now by a good friend of the program. He is a senior writer for The Athletic. He is a contributor to the Athletic NBA Daily Podcast. He is the vice president of the Professional Basketball Writers Association. Previously has covered the league for USA Today, Sports Illustrated, and the Sacramento Bee. Of course, I'm talking about Sam Amick. Sam, I know you are a very, very busy dude, so I appreciate you making time as always. Sam, how you doing?
Of course, Romy. Great to see you, my friend. Appreciate you. What's going on, brother?
Appreciate you, my brother. Great to see you. Man, the Lake Show, Sam, is really something. So why don't we start right here? Yesterday, during the show, news broke that the Buss family was selling roughly their 18% stake to the Lakers, or in the Lakers, to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner. Yep. Then come to find out, Sam, of course, Jeannie Buss was not on board, does not want to sell. Where does that leave us? Now what? Where do we go from here?
I mean, first of all, Romy, and this happens every once in a while in this job, you know, I probably should have got that law degree and been ready to rock with that because all of a sudden, you know, we're tackling documents that are a little bit above our pay grade. But the best understanding that I have in terms of trying to spin this thing forward is that you have two parties who both feel confident in their legal positions. But I will say that right now it feels like the ball is back in the court of the 5 Buss siblings who voted to sell their shares of the team because, you know, Jeannie, through her attorney, obviously declared very loudly yesterday that their understanding, their belief, their very strong belief is that the 2017 court order from the LA Superior Court that essentially mandates that Jeannie is the controlling owner of the Lakers and that the only way to change that is for all 6 siblings, including her, to have a final say, that this vote that they executed last week was void. You know, that is their stance. And now we wait to see things like, you know, how is the other group going to respond? They put a statement out today indicating that they are unified in their desire to sell all of the shares that are in the family trust. And so is this headed to court? Is this headed to some sort of compromise? That's kind of what we're waiting on.
Well said, Sam. I meant to preface that by saying neither you nor I have a legal background, but I thought you did a really good job with that. Hey, Sam, help me with this.
Buddy.
Like, for instance, lay out what governor means exactly. What does governor enable her to do and not do?
So a key detail there is that when they decided to sell the team to Mark Walter, and it's insane how we've already forgotten about that blockbuster. It's been less than a week, right? Like since the Lakers got sold for the second time in 14 months. But when the team went to Mark Walter 14 months ago, you know, part of that agreement was the decision to have Jeannie be the governor. And the NBA had stipulated that they wanted assurances that she would be the governor for, at minimum, a 5-year period. And so that was part of that agreement. When the team gets sold to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner, my understanding is that aspect of the agreement with Jeannie as governor travels with that agreement, travels with that contract. And so for anybody who doesn't know just the way the NBA rules work, that you have to have a 15% share of the team at minimum to be a team governor. But really, when you get that title, as long as you have that 15% and you got that governor on your nameplate, then you are running the team. That is why they're referred to as controlling owner. That means you have final say. That means that you know, even when you have Bob and Josh coming in with bigger shares and being majority owners financially, that the plan was to have Jeannie be the governor. So some of this stuff is unprecedented, and I'm curious if the NBA weighs in, but that is what it means to be governor.
Okay, really interesting. Do we think for a second that Iger and Kushner would pay a valuation of $12.5 billion to let somebody else have final say and run that franchise?
Well, that's where you get in. To me, there's levels to this. You have the legalities of it, which is that the answer is yes, legally. Again, she had 4 years and has 4 years left on that term. Now, does that mean that when you get under the hood, so to speak, as a group and you actually run the Lakers, you know, do you have functional ways of saying, Jeannie, we love you, but like, if we feel this strongly about this move or that move, that's for them to figure out. But in terms of what's on paper and who's governor, the NBA is different, man. Like, this is not like regular corporate America. You know, they have their own CBA, they have their own ecosystem, and this governor stuff has become an issue in recent years because the league didn't like how many teams were being sold to, let's say, 10, 12 different folks, and they want stability in terms of who's in the boardroom, and that was kind of the driving force behind Jeannie holding on to that role.
We're talking to Sam Amick. So, Sam, if Jeannie's legal maneuvers do not work out, and I don't know, because again, I'm not an attorney, but if they do not work out, how much of a seismic shift would it be for the Buss family not to be linked to the NBA for the first time since 1979 when Dr. Jerry Buss bought that team?
No, it'd be massive. I mean, some of this stuff, because everything plays out online right now, is surreal, so Magic, and I believe this is accurate. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but am I correct that Magic tweeted like a goodbye letter to the Buss family? And I think
I don't know the answer to that, but I've got not a better question, but a question for you. Do you believe that Magic, when he posts, is he legitimately posting, or is he the biggest troll ever and just trying to hook me to get me to response to how inane all of his posts are? Because I really don't know.
Listen, Magic perfected the art of making your tweets sound like AI before AI was a thing. So yes, I agree with you. But point being that it's playing out in real time. Romy, I think it's going to take a while. I know that's not really answering your question, but I don't know that we are at the point of saying goodbye to the bus chapter. We might be eventually, no question. What it would mean is it's obviously one of the most storied legacies in the history of the game, and in recent years for this family, if even the relatable stuff beyond basketball is that any of us who have our own family situations look at it and go, my goodness, what an unfortunate mess in terms of the relationship dynamics. Last year, obviously, Jeannie firing Joey and Jesse from their positions, previously fired Jim. Certainly her father had chosen to put her in charge, and that is, kind of the foundation of her argument. But I don't know if we're there just yet. I feel like this thing might not get resolved for quite some time.
I mean, Sam, to that point, are we really surprised? It is unfortunate, and I'm not celebrating this. Well, maybe a little bit, but I mean, are we really surprised? Like, she fired her fam. She told one of her siblings that you should have never been born. And are we really surprised that they would all come together at this point to try to finally, A, get their money out of it, and B, jam her as well? I mean, that's why when I saw the report yesterday that the Buss family has come together and agreed to sell their shares. The hell they are. What? The Buss family is now unified? Jeannie is now one of them? Come on now. Right?
No, I'm with you. In fact, in real time, as we were trying to figure out how to respond to the news, that dialogue was happening internally at our place because, you can't put a headline up yet that says goodbye to the Buss family. It's just never that simple. So I agree with you, and we'll see where it goes. The part that I'm curious about and that admittedly somewhat in the dark about is you alluded to it earlier, Bob and Josh and the rest of the funders behind them just put an exceptional amount of money, record breaking stuff in the history of pro sports globally for this franchise. And I'm dying to know more about how they see this, because even if they still, again, I'm being told that they're comfortable and want Jeannie in that governor position, but still the level of messiness right now is certainly, I'm sure, not what they planned on, and maybe a long ways to go before we get clarity here.
Sam Amick joining us. Sam, something else that you've covered that we haven't hit on yet, and that's the notion of Mark Walter. To your point, there is that. He surprisingly sold that team for a record valuation as well. As you look around the league and you speak to people around the league, generally, what is the reaction to the way that's played out?
I mean, the macro perspective, I would argue and say, is that he just suddenly becomes the latest NBA owner who is proving how problematic, like the downside of some of these valuations is that the type of money that is coming into the NBA is great for the checking account so long as everything clears, but sometimes pretty wrought with complications. And, right now Matt Ishbia is having a tough time in Phoenix. Portland is a disaster with Tom Dundon fighting with the city, and begs the question of whether or not he was properly vetted in terms of his intentions. There's all these examples of really unfortunate and complicated and a lot of conflict with these ownership situations. Now, the uniqueness of Mark's is obviously the federal investigation and what seems pretty apparent that the driving force behind his sale, as we've seen, because he's selling off the rest of his sports portfolio as well, or at least being open to it, is the idea of how did nobody see this coming? Because they were doing a victory lap a year ago, thinking the Lakers were going to get, kind of Dodgerified, if that makes sense, and be legitimized in a way that the mom and pop shop that it was with the Buss family wasn't, didn't do before that. But I mean, it's bad times all around. This problem's just getting bigger.
Exactly. How did they not see this coming? I mean, maybe one thing for us or the average person not to see it coming, but how are we vetting these people? Like, we're talking about a $16 billion fraud, perhaps. We're talking about the feds crawling over this guy. The SEC's all over this guy. Now, again, an investigation is not an indictment. An investigation is not criminal charges, but he is selling everything at a record pace. How did the NBA not see this coming?
I don't have the answer. They're going to have to answer to that at some point. And I think, again, philosophically, it's fair to just ask the question of, like, this has been the era in the last 10 to 15 years under Adam Silver where, the business is booming. But I think at what cost is the question, because the integrity of the game, just in terms of, who's running these teams, who's owning these teams, the type of money coming in, certainly questions about, Adam Silver has expressed some concern about the level of Saudi money and put limitations on those types of things. It feels like some of that toothpaste is out of the tube across the board with some of these ownership groups, and that he's trying to get a hold on the operation when it comes to this process. But yeah, I don't, it's unfortunate they didn't see it coming. And all of a sudden you have this mess.
Sam Amick joining us. Sam, finally, what about across town? Then you got the richest guy of all, and Steve Ballmer. So ESPN reported that the NBA found no evidence that Steve Ballmer personally directed money to Kawhi Leonard through team sponsors in an attempt to circumvent the cap. But instead, the league is focused on the team's introduction of Kawhi to team sponsors and whether or not that constituted salary cap circumvention. I mean, damn, convoluted much? First of all, what was your reaction to the NBA piece or the ESPN piece and the fact that the NBA pushed back so hard?
Surprised at the level of pushback from the league and honestly, the specificity of, and just being real with you. I like reporting on what's happening in the NBA. I do not enjoy getting into the media aspect of things. And so when we asked them for a statement, definitely did not expect them to go as hard as they did at the reporting. And then now, to be fair, it puts the onus on the league to say, okay, they've not provided the answers to what they accused, which is what was wrong, what context was left out. And we're going to need to find that out eventually and try to reconcile that messaging from yesterday with the final decision and the final resolution. Now, the most revelatory part of that report, I thought, was the fact that the Clippers and the league are already negotiating some kind of resolution based on the findings. It seems like, again, we're not the experts here legally in terms of, nor are we investigators, but to be doing that somewhat simultaneously when you continue to indicate that the investigation is not entirely complete, is sticky territory there, if that makes sense. But it's also a preemptive strike. I think it's pretty clear on the part of the Clippers to try to control some of the messaging, to try to also send a pretty loud message to the NBA that this is how we see it. This is what we intend to do in terms of potential arbitration and not rolling over if you do decide to bring the hammer here.
It does make sense what you just said, and I'm not looking to get you, to your point. You're not here to report on media. Those are some really reputable reporters that had that report.
Question.
But to your point, if the investigation is not complete, maybe you don't report something so emphatically. But then one last point, Sam, it seems to me, is there not a contradiction between an investigation and a negotiation? I can't wait for the day for somebody to investigate me, but I get to negotiate the outcome.
Yeah, well, it's welcome to rich people world, and not to oversimplify it, but that is kind of what it feels like. And to be fair, I think there's a distinction on the reporting that nothing was found. The way I read it, and there's always a separation between the headline and what's in the story, but was that the league had not, based on their reporting, presented the Clippers with proof that there was evidence that Ballmer had funneled this money through team sponsors. So we shall see. We are starting clearly to now, to get a little bit of the rumblings. We're getting closer to the finish line, whether it's the next month, the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks, we're going to get a conclusion here. But it's, it's already getting messy on that storyline as well.
So one final thought. So where do you think that leaves Kawhi Leonard? Is he a Raptor or a Clipper?
I think he's a Raptor. Yeah. I mean, all the conversations I've had is that, the Kawhi component, again, just handicapping here, certainly not reporting anything definitively, but that his expectation, the players union's expectation is that he'll be in a Raptors jersey. And I think honestly, most of the focus at this point is on the Clippers. And from there, the question becomes, is it, potentially going to be tied to the aspiration allegations, maybe some of the other team sponsorship deals with Daktronics and others that have also been investigated? Is it going to be stuff that isn't even team sponsor related? And this has been reported. We've had some of this that, cost for hotels and transportation that maybe was outside the lines. That's all in play, and the league obviously is not sharing just yet.
I wonder if you and I have to go to night school and take some legal classes, kind of bone up on these
things. I know,
things
man. I'm trying my best here.
That's really well done. He is a senior writer for The Athletic, a contributor to the Athletic NBA Daily Podcast, the VP of the Professional Basketball Writers Association, the great Sam Amick. Sam, appreciate you, my brother. Thank you very much for doing that. Always fun.
All right, Romy. Be good. Thanks for having me.
Sam, you're the best. Sam Amick joining us. Yeah, that's not easy. That is not easy, unless you're Sam or Rhino in Sacktown. What was the biggest surprise today? The way Jason Garrett showed up or the way Ryan in Sacktown showed up? I'm going to go with Rhino. And Sam always shows up like that.
Administrator here in California. Miles is on the right track about the fiduciary duty for the co-trustees, which actually
I'm sure Miles appreciates Rhino saying he's on the right track.
Here in California. That said, Jeannie is going to be switching hats to the beneficiary side because she is also a beneficiary. And in California, beneficiaries
Rhino, you can't get through a freaking beef on any Thursday.
Code.
How did you break that down like that?
Ex parte, which would be an emergency petition asking for things like formal appraisals of the franchise, future appraisals, tax consequences, and it will be in the co-trustees.
Even. A lot of you are saying, Rome, hello, he's reading from AI.
Including the remainder beneficiaries.
He read all of his other horrible takes and couldn't even get them out. So the fact that he read that as well as he did is a win. Either he was speaking off the cuff, and then I'm really stunned, but even if he took that off of AI, that was still stunning because I've heard him try to just speak off the cuff and try to deliver a punchline, and he can't do that. So,
Johnny boy,
I got his back on this. All right, when we come back, we are open 1-800-636-8686. I do want to talk about the NL MVP, so I will. Baseball fans, think you know who's hitting a home run today? Well, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. Joining the action is easy. Just make your free pick on who's hitting a home run in their game, and if you're right, you'll get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. You've got nothing to lose, and you've got a lot to gain. And don't forget, you can make a free pick every day during the MLB season. Just another reason why FanDuel is the home for home runs. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com/Rome, FanDuel.com/ROME to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a home run. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB.
21 plus, select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus, D.C., Kentucky, Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. Call 1-888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat, Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org, Maryland. Visit gamblinghelpline, ma.org. Call 800-327-5050, Massachusetts. Call 1-8778-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY, New York. Call 1-8777-867, Louisiana.
You're listening to the Jim Rome Show.
Always good to run you down. How you doing, Jed?
Jim, great to see you, man. I'm doing great. Just in the middle of training camp right now, and it's a great day. Great day around here in Seattle.
I love that. All right, so how's the summer going, and do you like what you see in camp?
Yeah, summer's been really good. We just finished Saturday night. We had a 120 play scrimmage or so, and we really got after it pretty good. And guys had a good practice yesterday. We gave them today off, but we're in a good spot. Our team's playing well right now. We got a lot of youth, but a lot of our guys have a lot of football experience. I mean, we have 21 guys have started college football games for us out of our 22 starters. So we're in a good spot in that regard. And then we got some freshmen that are coming around and giving these guys a run for their money.
Man, that is so great, right? That retention is so key, especially this time and day, or this time that the sport is in right now. Jed, what about the freshmen? So when you look at freshmen right now, do you see them differently than you would have a few years back? And how quickly do you get them kind of into the culture, into the way you do things, and count on them to make an impact?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at freshmen like draft picks, you know, and if you're going to heavily invest in a freshman, you're heavily investing them to play. And if you're going to kind of scale your investment and you're going to try to, you know, get him here and teach him the culture, then you're giving him more time to figure out exactly how quickly they can play. But there's certain guys that we brought in here that we expect to play right away. And my left tackle is a freshman, and he's going to start. And I think, you know, Cody Green, he's from Seattle but went to Mater Dei High School, and he's going to walk in here just like John Mills did last year, who was a true freshman and started. Derek Coleman-Brusa, true freshman 3 technique. I believe he's going to be starting. Jaron Jones, I think he's got a great opportunity to start. So we're going to probably end up starting 3 true freshmen right off the bat, and then a ton of returning guys, and then we're going to hopefully finally have some depth. And that's obviously been the biggest challenge for us, really, at all the places I've been. You know, Arizona coming off of, 1-23, and then we had 2 years to finally kind of get it right in our 3rd year. And then we wound up coming back and at Washington, and we have no returning players. So last year we were able to build a foundation, and now this year we got the depth.
That's it. Jedd Fisch joining us, and then last year you won 9 games, and that was a 3-win improvement. And you do have guys coming back. Jedd, when you and I spoke in November, you were putting up big numbers, and you finished the season averaging 34 points per game, over 400 yards a game, with the return of quarterback Damon Williams Jr., and a lot of the offensive line is actually coming back. How much more efficient and explosive do you think the offense can be this season, even more so than last year?
Yeah, you know, we made a huge jump, right, from year 1 to year 2, and we're, you know, top 20 scoring offense last year. But with this 4 out of 5 starting offensive linemen returning and the starting quarterback returning, it just puts you in a great spot. Our wide receiver was a freshman All-American. Obviously, he's back. We were able to bring in Christian Moss from Kennesaw State, and then we have Chris Lawson and Rashid Williams at receiver, and then brought in a couple backs so that are freshmen and sophomores. So I think that we got a chance to be really, really good on offense. We got to play better in a couple games. We didn't play as well as we should have. We probably didn't have the depth we needed, but I think this year we do. And I think with Damon's growth from year 2 to year 3, which is really only his 2nd year as a starter now, going into his 16th start, I think we got a chance to let him just explode on the scene.
Steven, the 602 is hitting on something that I've been thinking about, but we have not brought up yet today. He said, Jimmy, please bring Torey Lovullo back on the program. The D-backs need some jungle karma, and they need help locating Ketel Marte. 40 games left, and they need some good karma. Never a good time for Ketel to go Ketel. It's not the first time. Let me see really quickly if we have this. So he no-showed their game yesterday in Boston, and now he's not with the team. Apparently today he's undergoing an MRI for his knee. Torey was really shaken up when asked about it after the game. I haven't seen Torey that emotional ever. Like, there's that narrative that, and this is what Torey said, there's a narrative that he's a bad teammate. There's a narrative that he's putting himself ahead of the team. He's like, that's not the case at all. He's been a great, great Diamondback. 10 years, 3-time All-Star. They need him. And they're not saying why he no-showed, only that it was a personal situation that was going on. And Torey wouldn't elaborate on it. But yesterday, Torey was shaken up and really emotional. I don't know, XCR, do you have that? Can we run that? They can work on that for a minute. But, yeah, I mean, you're in the wild card chase right now. And you need that guy, but there's something going on, and they don't have that guy. And now he's not available to them, apparently. Here's Torey.
So I want to keep that private, though.
You seem a little emotional. Are you worried?
No, not really. I love him and I care for him. I'll be okay.
What was the struggle for your pitchers today?
He is fine. Ketel is fine. He is fine. I want you guys to know that I just care for him on that level. So does everybody in that room. So I'll keep on.
All right, so Torey, all is not fine because Torey was like on the verge of tears. Clearly, all is not fine. So it's not one of those cases where Marte has a personal situation that he's dealing with and has permission to leave the club. Yahoo Sports, if you're watching on the stream, the Diamondbacks placed Marte on the restricted list after he did not show up for Monday night's game against the Red Sox. What that means is, quote, the restricted list is for players absent for personal, legal, or non-baseball reasons. Teams have the option not to pay those players. So they're still under contract, but if you're on the restricted list, they don't have to pay you. In other words, that's not really an excused absence. They expected him to be at the game. He didn't show up for the game. He just didn't show up. So when Torey was asked about that, he didn't want to elaborate, but you could tell he was really bothered by it. Quote, I just care for him on that level, so does everybody in the room. Meantime, the latest is he's getting an MRI on his knee. So I don't know exactly what's going on. I don't think anybody outside the organization really knows exactly what's going on, but they could use that guy right about now. And I've never seen Torey like that. So there is that. I wanted to bring that up, but somebody beat me to it. Jamie in Green Bay, quote, wait until we find out Parody Larry is an aerospace engineer. All right, the thing about Ryan is we knew he had a legal background. I didn't remember exactly what he told us that he did. I don't know if he was a paralegal or he's not a lawyer, but we knew that he had some sort of legal background. So no, I don't think that he just went right to AI and thought, oh, here's a good topic that I could show up and talk about and I'll sound smart. He was speaking with a certain amount of authority. Mark Nato, 303. Why is everyone bad-mouthing the Bus family? How else is our dad supposed to get us around town? Signed, the Deloro kids.
Dude, no.
I don't really understand that. Do you, Alvin? And then this guy wars Lori Partridge over Marsha Brady. Okay, now that's interesting. I don't know that we've ever actually had that debate. For good reason. But Lori or Marsha? To my younger generation. Hey, Lorne, Do you know who either one of those two are? Laurie Partridge or Marsha Brady? Incredible. Neither? I don't know how to say this without getting in trouble. Let's just say when you were a kid from my generation, couple of freaking smoke shows, yo. Which one, though? Okay, that doesn't really do it justice. Good job, though. Good job, Lauren, pulling that up. That doesn't really, that's very 70s-ish, right? It doesn't really do Susan Day justice, who went on to be an adult actress of fame. The whole Brady Bunch crew just disappeared, except for Florence. But then Florence was getting after it with Greg, because that's not weird. Mike, I think, was not interested. And then Bobby had orange hair. And Peter had that weird frog in his voice. Cindy had a bit of a lisp. And then I don't know what happened to Jan. I just know that was big, man. When I was a kid, that was a block. They had that on like on Friday nights. That was a big thing. That was a block, man. The Brady Bunch into the Partridge Family, or the Partridge Family into the Brady Bunch. I remember when I was a kid, and before we moved to the Valley, I was living on the west side, and we were in this development that was being built out, and we used to go to the end of the development and ride through all these hills because they hadn't developed the hills yet. It was like 1972, maybe? And we're riding our dirt bikes out there, having a good old time, normal bikes. And then I see the kid from the Partridge Family, and the kid who played the drums, Chris What's-His-Face or another. I'm like, holy crap, that's a movie star. Like, what are you doing out here, dude? Like, because like, we're all like 8. I'm like, what is that kid doing out here on his bike? But even better, as long as we're telling celebrity stories, you know who I went to elementary school with? And she never was in class because she was a straight-up bona fide movie star. And we were all in awe of this girl. Kim Richards. Remember Kim Richards? Kim Richards was on The Escape from Witch Mountain. She ended up in the Beverly Hills Housewives. She was like gone. But we knew her when I went to this school in Bel Air, not because I lived in Bel Air, but the elementary school was called Roscommere Road Elementary School. She's the same age as I am. But she never went to class because she was always off shooting movies. But can you imagine we were in first grade when she would show up? We'd all be like, holy crap. And she'd show up for class a few times a year, obviously. And I remember she sat down next to me once and just like took my pencil. I'm like, hey, Kim Richards, that's my pencil. Are you going to use that to give me an autograph or what's going on here? But what was that other TV show that she was in? I got to look it up. Famous TV show when we were little kids. You have to understand, there was no social media. There were no social media stars. It was TV. If you knew somebody, I knew another kid in my neighborhood that was like in a gum commercial. We thought that guy was Robert De Niro. Like, these things were so enormous when you were a kid. So back to why am I digressing? Laurie Partridge or Marsha Brady? Big freaking deals back then. When there was no cable and you only had your normal channels, the networks and the independents, and you just had a dial you turned, damn straight, these people were legends. So if you're asking me to pick one, Laurie Partridge or Marsha Brady? I can't. All right. Put a gun to my head. Laurie Partridge or Marsha Brady? Dodger Jano? Ding. Always DJ. Haunted Horse asks, Jim, is the restricted list the same as the downgrade list? No. There's nothing that's the same as the downgrade list. The downgrade list will, look, my perspective has changed. That was principle. That was like, oh, hell no, I'm not sitting back there. That was I paid for that ticket. Why am I the one who has to go back there? Why is the guy with the broken seat not the one going back there? What do you mean I'm first on the downgrade list? What the hell is a downgrade list? I didn't know a downgrade list even existed. I know there's an upgrade list. Who invented the downgrade list? Armin Armadillo, gone. V and the Fee. I bet V and the Fee's got a great take. Forget Marcia. Give me Marcy. Signed Sir Peppermint Patty. V. Fee, don't. Sir. You mean like Sir Nick Faldo? Peppermint Patty's been knighted? By who? Oh, by Marcy, because she used to call him Sir. Her Sir. Damn it, V. V. Don't make me do it. You're way too important to the show. We like you way too much. You know what? Here's my thing, V. I don't think I could ban you, but I could put you on the restricted list. I just actually usurped that. I ripped that from Major League Baseball. There's a ban list, which, for instance, has Fat Wells. Then there's the I boycotted the show myself list, which is Eric, and he can't get back in. V, because you finished second, I can't really ban you, but I can put you on the restricted list, which means that your submissions will not see the light of day on air. You can still hit chat. I can't block you from chat. I just can't. I mean, maybe I can. Tommy, we generally don't do that, but is there a function where you can block chat? I don't even know. Probably. V, it's like, V, you know what you're doing, V? You're taking advantage of me. You're taking advantage of me because you know I like you. You're like, Jimothy would never ban me. I don't want to, V. But if you keep sending me stuff like this over and over and over again, you're putting me in the worst spot possible. Because you know what? If I don't ban you, somebody more important than me might ban me. So if it's going to be me or you, V, who do you think I'm going to pick? If somebody could ban me over what you're sending because I read it, who do you think I'm going to pick, V? Who am I going to side with, me or you? Keep that in mind before you send me anything else from Sir Insert. Unless it's somebody who's actually knighted. All right. With that in mind, I should have taken a break 5 minutes ago, right?
Break.
Armand is in. You can see Torrey's a good coach. He generally cares for his guys. Torrey is a great coach, Armand. Armand is a manager. He's great, though. He's great. I love Torrey. You know I love Torrey. I love Torrey when he was a player. I love Torrey as a manager. And he does care. Clearly. All right, when we come back, if you're on hold, I promise you I'll take the call. If you're on hold, don't hang up. That's coming up next.
You're listening to The Jim Rome Show.
I did say going into that break that if you're on hold and you stay on hold, I will take a telephone call. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Let's go to Los Angeles. Matt in LA. Matt, what's up, dude?
Romy, thanks for the vine. From Madison to Montebello, from Appleton to Alhambra, you're welcome, you pukes. And as the dog days continue, our two supposed superstars are a couple of dogs in training. Ed Luz Diaz running out there like a sharding Sharpay all over the front yard every time. And K-Sucks, a.k.a. Kyle Tucker, underachieving and crying in the dugout. Hey, sack up, K-Sucks. There's no crying in baseball and there's no crying at work. Or find yourself being the most expensive postseason roster omission in MLB history. But that's not why I called, Jim. Just to piss on the bleeding out boys and blues, no. Because I still believe Doc will three-peat. I called because the circus tent just keeps expanding in L.A., and I'm loving it, like Swells at Mickey D's with his 3-combo meal lunch. I mean, give him some effing credit, for real. Ballsy billionaire loser Ballmer trying to circumvent the cap and claiming the Pedro Guerrero plea of stupidity as he shows the NBA commission that he can't even make his own bed. Or our guy JJ's wife blocking a generational windfall for the sale of the Lakers, turning the Late Show into an absolute S show as Mark Walters awaits Martha Stewart's vacant cell at the Hotel California Great Bar Hotel. I love L.A. Wore irate Craig training in a hefty garbage bag fat suit head to toe as an ode to NFL training camps, and wore Sprinkles in Wichita being defended by Rhino and Sacktown in his pimping and pandering versus the state of Kansas case. Unwore Rhino and Sacktown detractors. Outro!
Nice job, Matt. Rack him.
Rack him!
Ed Luz Diaz. And K-Sucks Tucker. There's a lot of stuff going on in that phone call, even from Matt. Pretty dense. Even from Matt, there was a hell of a lot going on in that call. You'd have to go back and listen to it. You'd have to listen to that call 5, 10, 15, 20 times to make sense of everything that he hit on in that call. But then again, I could say that about almost every single one of Matt's calls. A lot going on in that call. Appreciate it, Matt. Thanks so much. All right, so remember when Jason Garrett came on earlier, and the first question I asked him was about his new teammate on NBC, and that being Mike Tomlin. And what was it like to work with him in the Hall of Fame game? And I thought Jason Garrett did such a great job of saying, you know, it was great to spend some time with him there, but let me share a story with you about when I first met Mike Tomlin. And then he went back and was like, so great. Like, total anecdote about when he was in Tampa. And then I saw something else online where Mike Tomlin, the thing about Tomlin is, you'd see Tomlin and he'd show up in all these pressers over the years and get off these one-liners and kind of mean mug people and throw off that vibe and some of that standard is the standard. And he never really fully let us in, except that one time when he hit Twitter, X, which was then Twitter, and he came right out and he said, hey, great to be here. I'm going to promise you nothing but straight fire. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is going to be a must follow. That's a tease, and we want to know. Let us in, Mike. Let us in. And then he never tweeted anything of any substance at all, and all I got out of that was a great name for a horse. Well, now he's no longer coaching. Now he's showing up. He's doing walking interviews. NBC is taking advantage of him. And unless you're like a super natural, it's going to take a little bit of time to get into it, but he's opening up a little bit. And the next thing you know, he's on with Jimmy Fallon. And Fallon's doing a bit with Tomlin. Check this out. I have a question. Why are we all laughing so hard? I mean, Fallon's got to be a great guy to sit with, because anything that you say, he thinks is arts. Get you back to savings. Pick up select Royal Purple Fuel System additives. Buy one, get one free. Plus, receive 4 times O Rewards points. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store or shop online at O'ReillyAuto.com. I'll tell you what, love Jason Garrett. Love the way he showed up. Always love the way Sam Amick shows up. Love the way Ryan in Sacktown showed up. Love the way the XR4 Ti showed up.
Oh, Johnny.
And the rest of you clones, have a great day. Thank you very much for listening and or watching. Have a great Tuesday. See you tomorrow. We're out.